Well, hello, wealthy women. I am truly so excited. And I know that you are going to be so inspired by this beautiful success story I am about to share with you. So get ready, enjoy, grab your favorite cocktail or coffee or water, and sit back and just be inspired by another beautiful woman's journey to her dream life, her dream business, and let her tell you how she got there so that you can be inspired and know that your dreams are definitely possible. And also, please reach out to her. She can help you to become the best version of you. She is so masterful in what she does. And so, without further ado, I'm going to let you go ahead and share with us who you are, what you do, why you do it, and where you can be found.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the invite to be here. I am super excited to share my story with you and with anybody out there listening. Um, I think it's so important that we have real everyday people we can look up to or look across to, right? And really just share what we know. And this goes with what I do because everybody has something to offer. And sometimes, the biggest reason I started my business was because I wanted a me for me. And so sometimes we do just need someone like us to help us get out of whatever we're stuck doing. It's not about getting a mentor or a coach necessarily, but just somebody like us who kind of gets it and what we're going through. And that being
Yes.
said, I am Joe Self. That is my real name. You can
Love
check my birth certificate. Um,
that.
because I write books and because of my website, everybody thinks it's a pen name, but it's not. It's my real name. But I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better name with everything
It's
I
fan.
do,
I
to
mean,
be
you were
honest.
destined for this, right?
I
Yes.
know, I know. And my business is my main business, my individual business is called Discover Joe Self because what I do is one, you're going to discover me, but also I'm going to help you discover you. And that sounds like a weird thing to say, but I work with Clifton Strengths. So there's a strengths assessment you can take that's called Clifton Strengths. You may know it by that name. You may know it by the name it went through for many years, which was called Strengths Finder. It came from the book Now Discover Your Strengths. It's run by Gallup. I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. And when I took this assessment back in 2003, it was like I got a user's manual for myself. All those times somebody said, "Why do you do that?" And I went, "I don't know. Doesn't everybody do that?" I really had no idea why I did some of the things I did. I just did them, right? It's second nature. You just do it. And there's lots of things that impact our decision making, but our strengths, our talents, really, that we start with a talent is is where the root is. It's our intrinsic motivation, needs, how we want to contribute to the world. Our purpose is really in our talents. And if we can connect to that fully, it is so liberating on so many levels.
Yeah.
Um, it's liberating because you suddenly go, oh, wow, that thing I thought was really annoying or really bad about me is actually a gift. It's a talent. It's something of value. Oh, wow, how exciting. Or that thing I've struggled with doing for so long, that's not a talent. I don't have to focus on that anymore. You're released. You don't
Yes.
have to do it, right? You can find someone else to do it. So anytime someone says, well, if you're not good at it, you should keep doing it. You go, why? I'm good
Yes.
at so many other things. I can
Yes.
find someone else to do this or help me do it or lean into another talent. But you don't have to focus on something that is truly a struggle in the way that we think we do, right? I mean,
Yes.
we all
We
have
we almost think it's
weaknesses.
like a badge of honor if we tough it out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, like I can get through this. I can make
Yeah.
it happen. Like I'll be more organized next year. No, you won't. You
Yeah.
like, I mean, that was the thing is if you even look back to when you were a kid, I have communication and woo as talents, and woo means winning others over. So I love to talk to people. I love to connect with people. I love to bring people into my circle. I love to make other circles for other people. I'm a connector, much like you are. And woo is the talent of winning others over. And I have communication. So I might like to talk a little bit, but it's not just about liking to talk. It's about a need to verbally process your thoughts. It's someone who wants to tell a story. It's someone who wants to create mental images for you with their words. It's someone who the words matter. We all talk. We can communicate without the talent of communication. It's just the motivation behind it from communication. So imagine all of my report cards in elementary school say, if only she could stop bothering her neighbor, if only she could stop talking to everyone. I was the kid who perpetually lived with my desk.
Hold on one second.
Yeah, that's okay. We're back.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. We're
That's
good.
okay. I was the kid who lived with my desk perpetually pegged next to the teacher's desk in elementary school. So I just would stop talking to everyone. Right. So my talent didn't show up in the best way. Our talents are also our weaknesses when we're misapplying them or overusing them.
Yes.
So for me, that's a really important thing to do. So I work with strengths. I have a program called Language of You. Everything I do starts with the individual. You have to know, not just know yourself, you have to appreciate who you are, see value in who you are, and then the confidence kind of flows. And then you start understanding how to interact with others. It improves our relationships significantly, work relationships, friendships, romantic relationships. They will significantly improve when you know deeply and truly who you are and you value that. That's the key, is valuing it. And so I start with there. I also work with teams, organizations, communities to do team building, but really with the lens of raising curiosity, building connection, and deepening understanding. So it's really about community building. So it could be a whole bunch of people who occupy a similar space but don't work together, but just need to know how to share space.
Yeah.
One of the projects I'm working on is working with a neighborhood association in Mexico, where I live. I live in Mexico City, where you can where the whole neighborhood association, so like the president of the neighborhood association is doing his leadership talents, understanding who he is, but then you have to make committees, and the neighbors have their petty arguments, but we're going to bring him back to, like, what was the purpose of this community in the first place? Why did you guys buy a home here? What brought you to
Yeah.
this space? And this is one of the first it was one of the first, like 30 years ago, it was the first ecologically responsible, environmentally responsible neighborhoods that was being built. So there was a purpose for why people came there in the first place. So
Yes.
using strengths, we're going to reconnect them so they can see their neighbors differently, so they can see each other differently, and
I
rebuild that village that we've lost.
I love that too when you even apply it to the individual business owner, because there are moments in your business where maybe you're exhausted, you're frustrated, you're like ready to throw in the towel or something. And then you have to bring it back to, well, what was your purpose in the first place? Why did you want, what is your big why? Why did
Yeah.
you start this business? And then you'll remember those strengths and what your purpose was, and it'll put you back on the track. So I love that. You can do this with an individual, you can do this with a team. It's the same, concept. Let's bring it back. Why did this even originate in the first place? What was the purpose? What were you desiring to have happen, right? And then
Yeah.
you can,
Yeah.
yeah. I love this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just, I've I've worked with teams, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies, I work with small business owners, I work with lots of entrepreneurs, right? Because in in my belief, especially when you're in a service-based entrepreneurial position, that can be really challenging. We kind of feel like we have to do all the things, and we have to, and marketing comes at you from this, like, who's your ideal client and what's your avatar and who's your, do you have a funnel, and do you have, like, it is very overwhelming. And the thing is everybody tries to get those pieces in place before they ever know what it is they really want to do. Like, invariably, what would you want to do? I want to help people. Great. What do you want to help them do? What are you driven to help them do? And like I said at the beginning, mine is to be a me for me. Like, that's my biggest drive. Is I hated being an entrepreneur that was treated like a corporation with, like, endless capital.
Yeah.
I had a budget.
Yeah.
I could not, my first website in 2007 cost me $12,000. And it wasn't even like this crazy website. I was just running an event company for, a social company for getting people out there and connecting, and my branding and the website. And it was $12,000. I'm like, who? Now, fortunately, I had the money at the time, but God, what a waste of money. Because I went in and was like, that's all right. Well, all right. I got an idea. And I went in and literally scrapped that website, started on WordPress, taught myself how to build a website, taught myself Adobe Photoshop, taught myself graphic design, and started doing it myself because I couldn't be charged $250 every time I needed some tiny little 5-minute thing done for me.
Yes, and you're so right because you evolve as you grow your business. You start to learn more about what matters to you, what really
Yeah.
resonates, what you do like, what you don't like, and you start to clean it up and it starts to become so streamlined. We're so efficient and it's joyful, and that's what you help people do. Is
Well,
you
and
help them.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. No, I
No,
love that you
that's
said the
so
word
rewarding.
evolve. I love the word that
Yes.
you used evolve because I tell people that all the time because there's also this need to get it right going out the door.
No,
And I
100%.
100%, that was me too. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to show up in the best possible way. You're going to believe I'm professional. You're going to believe I've got my act together. Um, my goal now is to get you comfortable with being 60% ready.
Yeah.
60% is 100% good enough.
That's, oh, I love
Be,
that. Yeah.
because 60%, you've got to experiment. You've got to try. You want a good direction. You want to know what you stand for. And that's a lot of what I do with the strengths is I'm just trying to get you to understand, what do you stand for? Because for me, when you're in the service space, if you show up with a powerful message that you can talk about passionately without pauses or thinking, you become a beacon
Yes.
and you will find your niche. You will find your avatar. Now, it's good to say, like, I want to work with middle managers. Great. But middle managers in the tech industry, in the human resources industry, right? You may not know that. I did not set out to work with other strengths coaches. I wanted to work with entrepreneurs, service-based entrepreneurs, because I believe in that space, and people who wanted to do a small startup so they could get their culture right before it went wrong. Like, think about those pieces that we don't think about soon enough. And at the end of the day, because I use strengths, a lot of strengths coaches got their certification and then went, I don't know how to do a business. I don't know how to get my message out there. I don't know what I'm trying to do. And so that's where I got. And never in a million years did I think I would just coach other strengths coaches, but that was 80% of my initial clientele. And okay, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yes.
that's what it is. Lean into it. But it's always been about communication. It's always been about connection. And as I've coached others, the beautiful thing about being a coach is we often say something we need to hear,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So you give
Yes.
somebody, not that we're supposed to give advice as a coach, which is why I don't call myself a coach, but you might be giving someone some advice or telling them a story or saying, I can remember one particular call. This guy was talking about, like, I don't know, can I be a sales coach? Blah, blah. I've never been a salesperson or something like that. And I said, look, I've got a whole train the trainer on how to teach parents to be better, like to be coaches for their kids. And they're like, oh, great. How does that work for you? Like, what do parents normally say? And I'm like, oh, I have no idea. I've never, ever worked with parents. I just know that this is a great path for anyone who does. And I said, but I'm really scared to put myself out as a parenting coach because I'm not an expert at parenting. I mean, I'm a parent, but like, I don't have a degree in psychology. I'm not a counselor. I'm not an educator. Like, I don't have that background. I said, what I am an expert in is communication. Oh, that's what I'm really good. Like telling someone else what I wasn't and then what I was like, oh man, if only that had, right? So many times when we coach other people, we get that little aha for ourselves and go, oh. So that's how my business has continually evolved. I think I'm on website number 4, right? Like, but in 9 years.
Yeah.
But it's been this beautiful evolution of just getting more and more focused and more connected to my message, my own message, and the impact that I want to have.
And then when you're helping clients, like let's take it like, say, a woman entrepreneur, she needs your
Mm-hmm.
services. She has this, let's say she has a an array of ideas for her business, but
Yeah.
she's a little bit unclear. So you can help her get clear, not
Yeah.
only by helping her figure out what her strengths are, but you'll help her figure out her shadow side too, so
Yeah.
that she can figure out, okay, that's, I have to be aware of that. That's the little thing creeping in, and I need to make sure it doesn't stop me from my progress. So, like, tell me a little bit about your program, and then before we get into the success questions, tell me if you can share your website so people can find you. So, like, tell a little bit about how would you, what program, like what do you have in place to help a woman business entrepreneur sort of streamline, get super clear and ready to show up in a major, powerful way so that she can just take her business by storm?
Yeah. So I've simplified my model in the sense of when you hire me for coaching, I sell packages.
Mhm.
My packages are flexible because people need to be flexible. So you can work with
Mhm.
me in 30-minute increments and 60-minute increments. So they're basically 4-hour packages, but it's not an hourly rate,
Gotcha.
right? It because there's also work happening in the background. I offer, design support and do other things in the background for that. And it's sliding scale. So we'll put that out there. So if you were to go to my website, which is discoverjoself.com, if you're an entrepreneur, that's where you want to go. Um, but I have a process, and I used to call it the fours, but it's really it's a business strategy, and it starts with the language of you. And the language of you is my core foundational program that even if you are a strengths expert and I'm working with you, we will still do this program. It does not matter your level of strengths knowledge, because there's always pieces we need to be aware of that don't come to light until we do this. So the language of you is where we take your talents, your skills, your motivations, and your values, and we weave them together into a fabric that becomes a glossary of copy, of definitions, of ways for you to talk about who you are and why you do what you do. And then the final piece is doing a legacy piece, which subconsciously you're actually weaving together all the things you've just identified about yourself without the homework being. Now, weave that all together into something really concrete. Now, nobody can do that. But I just have you write a legacy piece and I'll be like, oh, remember when you said this about your values? Look how that showed up here.
Yes.
And that legacy piece actually becomes the base for your about you or your bios or what you do. And the reason I say that, like, I used to run that as a 4-week program.
Right.
But what I've recognized, some people want to like dive in and get it done this week. Some people want to take time and think between
Yeah.
every module. So what you spend, so I even, when I used to have the fours, I'm like, it's going to cost you anywhere between here and here, depending on how much time you need to take action. I can work as fast as you can.
Right.
And
I
I can
love that.
work slowly with you, but I don't ever want anyone taking more than 6 months to work with me to
Right.
get all of, and that's to get all of the pieces. When I say all the pieces, the language of you is a small piece.
Right.
So we get that piece done. Then I will literally do a talent detangler. Once you really understand your talents and everything a little bit more, I do what I call a detangler. And the detangler is where I ask you 3 really important questions about each of your top 5 talents. We'll weave some of the other ones into, because there's 34 talents. So we'll weave your other dominant ones, but I ask 3 pertinent questions. And then that becomes the basis of how they want to structure their business. What is the copy they use for marketing? What are those really key phrases? You'd be surprised what people, if you ask them, have no idea what to say, or if you put pen to paper, they have no idea what to say. But if you ask them in a certain way, they talk about themselves, they will say brilliant, beautiful things. You're like, oh my God, that's your key to marketing. Like, that's
Yep.
it right there.
Yep.
Right. I had one
Exactly.
beautiful person many years ago who, in his legacy piece, said he wanted to be remembered as the Johnny Appleseed of happy thoughts. And I was like, oh my God, if you don't put that on your business card,
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
come after you personally. Right. And it took him a little bit to lean into, but that is 100% who he is.
Yeah.
And take something like that and make your business card out of plantable seeded paper and like really lean in. That's the
Mhm.
kind of thing that gets people's
It's like
attention. And
bespoke. Yeah.
it's really bespoke. Everything I do is it's very bespoke. And I think that's what sets me apart from other marketing coaches, if I want to call myself that, or business coach, is are there elements of all of those things that you need? 100%. But the way you are going to do it is going to look different. So it's not that I discard traditional marketing, it's that I make sure that you know what you're going to naturally want to show up and do, where you're going to be passionate. Because if you are struggling to show up because of the things you have to do,
Yeah.
you are less likely to succeed because you just don't show up.
That's right.
put it
That's
off.
right. I always say you have to, one of the questions I love is, what is the most joyful way that I can do this? Whatever it is, what is the
Yeah.
most joyful way that I can do this? And really, you ask yourself, and it's almost like giving yourself permission. Oh, you mean there's a way that I'm allowed to have joy in doing something that maybe is not so joyful? You
Yeah.
can take it down to some of the things maybe none of us want to do, whether it's your business or some, I mean, the business we want to do, but like, let's say some kind of house cleaning chore.
Yeah.
Nobody instinctively loves that, but if you say, what is the most joyful way that I can do, well, you can make it better and pleasurable. And so I love that question because it starts the creative process of how to uniquely make it your own, right? And that's what your
Right.
whole concept is let's find you. Who are you in the business that you are
Yes.
creating? Because without you, what is that? It's
Yeah.
just
Right. And most people come to me when they're somewhere, they're either just beginning or they're hitting that 3-year mark where they just haven't been able to get the traction they
plateaued.
want. And this is like their last ditch effort to make it
Yeah.
work before they like start looking for a job. That's traditionally where most
Yeah.
of the people find me, is somewhere in that, new to 3-year space.
Okay. I love it.
Um, and because of where I come in price point wise, it's a no-brainer, and I'm flexible. I have always said money is never the reason you don't work with me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I absolutely, because when people have talents and gifts, it is our duty to help figure out a way to make it possible, right? So that they can bring their beautiful gifts to the
Yes.
world and be of service, right? I mean, I
Everybody
think that's what we're
deserves a
here for.
chance, regardless
Yeah.
of what their financial situation
Yes,
is.
exactly.
And I don't turn anyone away. The only time I will turn someone away, and it's not even turning you away, it's like, you're not
It's
at
just
this
not a good
space
fit.
yet.
Yeah.
You're not at this space yet. There's other work you need to do. Go do
Yeah.
this with this person, or go check on this, and then
Yeah.
come back to me. Because the
Exactly.
one thing I will say is, you've got to be ready to take action with me, and you've
Yeah.
got to be willing to be potentially surprised in the process. So
Which
you've
is a
got to
good
be
thing.
open
Yep.
to doing something you maybe hadn't considered before, or you've considered it but discarded it for whatever reason.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
people, I really want to work with nonprofit, but there's no money in nonprofit. I can't work with nonprofits. I'm going to go for the corporate space. Wow, you sound really excited about that.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
to me about that, right? And
Exactly.
I'll be like, no, no, no. Let's go back to not. Is that where your heart is? Okay,
Yeah.
let's figure out how you do
Yeah.
that in a way. I'm not saying don't take corporate clients, but if you're taking a client that doesn't excite you,
Yes.
that's like key number one to failure.
Yes, it's like eating vegetables you don't like. Like why?
Yeah.
Like there's other
Yeah. You're like,
vegetables that you love. Eat the ones you love. Like let's make this joyful for you. I love this.
right.
Okay,
Right.
so before we get into our success questions, just share your website one more time and they can read out all about your programs and everything that's included. If we missed anything, that they can find everything else on your website.
Yeah. It's Discover Joe Self, JOSELF, discoverjoeself.com.
Perfect. Okay, so now we are going to do the fun success question so that
Woo.
you can be inspired by what Joe has to say about her journey to creating her beautiful business, her beautiful life, and to know that you are not alone, that the journey is meant to have some twists and turns, and that doesn't mean you're on the wrong course, and just to keep going. So let's start with some great success questions that can help inspire. So the first one I'd like to ask is if you can please share in detail how you feel successful and wealthier because of building your own business. Like, what has
Oh,
empowered you about building your own business?
I love freedom.
Yes. Yep.
And that is financial freedom, that is location freedom, that is time freedom. I want to call the shots.
Yes.
I
Hmm.
want to be able to be as creative as I want to be. I want to be able to experiment with different things. Now I know I can confuse people because of that, but I'm okay with that. Like, I know that's is part of the territory. Um, but gosh, with my talents, it's so important for me to feel like I'm having an impact on others And the corporate space was I was very lucky. I had a job where I could do that for quite a while, but at one point I just hit a ceiling
Yeah.
and I wasn't really able to grow. I wasn't able to expand my abilities or my reach. Um, the system was kind of holding me back, and I couldn't
It
do it
was
anymore.
time. You wanted
I
your
couldn't do it
freedom.
anymore, right? And
Yeah.
so and I did it. And the funny thing is I put a 9-month notice in. They were like, "You're giving us 9 months notice." And I'm like, "I am open to renegotiate. I am open to reconsider this. But if you don't come through, yeah, nine
Yeah.
months, April 20th is my last day."
Yep.
Right. And they were like, "Ah, she's just bluffing." No, I was not bluffing. I was
Yeah.
not
There you
bluffing at
go.
all. But and that was the thing. And I thought, all right, well, then it's time. And I am one of those people that kind of I'm a very logical person, but my gut plays into it every now and again too. It's like, okay, it's going to be this or this, and whichever one the
Mm-hmm.
universe says yes to, I will take that
Mm-hmm.
path, right?
Yes.
And so it's been a little bit of both, a little bit of pros and cons and logic, but at the end of the day, I usually let my gut make the choice.
Let's expand upon that. It's not in my success questions, but I think it's a good one because I myself, I know plenty of women business owners. We get occasionally stuck between potentially two great choices, but we can only have one. How do you go about when you're in that circumstance? What is your way of getting clarity? Like, do you have what can you suggest to someone else, whether it's walks in nature, sitting and meditating, journaling, like things like that? What do you do to get the clarity? Like, where you just know, okay, this is it. Talk to God. Like, what might it be?
I think it's going to be the advice my dad gave me. It's probably what I do most it is it is sit with it, but it's kind of taking out all the extraneous factors.
Hmm.
What will my husband think? What will my daughter think? What, you know, try not to let other people's beliefs
Influence.
about what is good for you influence your decision, and remove that, because I find, at least in my case, I find that that's often what leads me to make a compromise decision. Is I find like something that makes me 70% happy,
Yeah, yeah,
but at least
yeah.
I'm giving the other person something they need, which at the end of the day, I don't need to do that.
Yes. Well,
Right.
this is,
And it's
this
getting
is,
stronger. It's getting stronger at that not being
yeah.
an influencing piece, which is not easy. We're human, but
Well, that's also, not to interrupt you, but that's also another thing us women, I think that they can relate to because we tend to be the people pleasers, the nurturers. And so we're always including, okay, well, how will that affect such and such? And the thing is, we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot because actually, our people that love us, they want to see us fully happy because when we're fully happy, we're a better version of ourselves, which means we're a better version to them, right? But
right.
you
Everybody
have to give
wins in
yourself
that
that
case,
permission,
right?
right?
But you have to do it. And so the piece of advice that came from my dad gave me two great pieces of advice, which I live by to this day, which is in this particular subject was, how does your stomach feel?
Mm-hmm.
If your stomach is twisty and knotty and you don't feel good, it is the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I will say that, like I said, I'm a pretty logical person, but my intuition's very strong. I'm very good at picking up on clues and patterns and feelings, yes, but like just really looking at the patterns of things. And my logic can get me into a lot of trouble because the times when I have ignored my intuition and said, ugh, you're being paranoid or you're not giving it a chance or whatever the reason is, and my logic won out, something horrible always happened. Horrible doesn't happen when I listen to my intuition.
Absolutely.
And I can
Absolutely.
100% go back to like every terrible moment in my life and actually recall shutting down my intuition and making a different decision. And it
And
didn't
you
go
know,
well. And so
yeah,
it's my stomach. So meditate, sit in nature, whatever you need to do to get to that space.
yeah,
But how does it make you feel? You've made the choice. Do you feel joyful? Do you feel light? Do you feel content? Do you feel at peace? And
Yeah.
if you don't feel any of those things, it is not the right choice, no
Yeah.
matter how right it seems to be,
Hmm.
because logic dictates that. So
It's
it's
so
more
true.
money, it's a better position, but if there's something that isn't sitting right, it's
Yes.
not going to go well.
For me, I think like I'm glad that we're talking about this because I'm thinking back to something that I was doing, and it was a good thing. It was a beneficial thing, but my heart stopped being in it, right? And I started to hear the like little voices telling me this, but you just push it aside, deny it, you keep going because like everything
Uh-huh.
on the outside was seemingly good, right? So like why mess with a good thing if it isn't broken? And so I didn't listen to the call right away until I was waking up every single morning. And the first thought was like a sort of a dreadful, like I just couldn't get the motivation. And so for me, that was screaming at me to stop. And it was time to change and do the different choice.
Well, and
Yep.
you're fortunate that that scream was still a whisper. I actually talk about this in my TED talk that I did. And it's something I've always gone by is like the universe is constantly giving you messages. I
Yeah.
don't care how spiritual you are or not, right? I'm a little woo-woo, but even so, the world is giving you messages. The spirits are
Absolutely.
talking to you. The universe is showing you the path. And it might be you hear a commercial and somebody says something in the commercial that you go, oh, that was interesting. And then like somebody else says it to you. And then somebody says it like in one day, you've heard it 3 times from 3 totally different
Yes.
sources. And you go,
Yep.
maybe there's something there. Well, when you
Yes.
start listening at that level, that's great. But if you
Yes.
don't listen at that level, right, that tickle turns into a brick that's going to slam you upside the head. If you don't leave the nest, the universe will push you out eventually.
So true. It's almost also like the way your body communicates with you when it's not feeling good. It
100%.
will,
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
there to
If you
serve you.
don't listen,
Yeah.
it will manifest. And sometimes that manifestation is a disease or someone passing away tragically, or like it's something hard
Yeah.
that makes you suddenly go, why am I not taking that job or making that move or doing that thing? Because that's what I really want. And life is too short and I need to do it now. And it took, to be honest, as much as I preach that, it still took a cancer scare for me to make my change when I was not happy. And I didn't have cancer. It was fine. It was the week waiting for test
Yeah.
results, but it was enough of a week of
Whoa.
something's got to give.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is not the path I want to keep going down.
Yes, yes. And I think, the thing that we're saying here to everybody here is let's not wait until we get into that like moment where like we have to be so-called scared or in a crisis to make the change. The idea here is honor who you genuinely and authentically are.
Yeah.
Get in touch with Jo so she can help you figure out who that is because it's not as easy as you think to get to know who you really are and what you should do in this world. We think it should be easy. It's not always easy. We have our own blocks for whatever reason. And Jo can help you figure this out. And I love that. And the whole idea is to, you know, let your life become as joyful as you possibly
Yeah.
can because you actually can design it that way. It does not have to be hard. It does not have to be an uphill
No,
battle.
no,
It
it
shouldn't be.
doesn't.
It
And
doesn't have to be
you know,
because
and
there's
to go
plenty of
along with it.
things that,
Yeah.
that will come that will be difficult enough. So what you have control over, make as joyful as possible, right?
Yeah. And and it's the thing, if we go back to strengths a little bit, one of the things I love to say is don't listen to the naysayers. They're not your people anyway.
That's right. That's
And the
right. Absolutely.
strengths, when you learn your talents and appreciate them and can lean into them as strengths and recognize and value them, that naysayer voice gets a lot lower. It's a whisper. It's no longer this yelling in your ear. You're like, because I'll have people and they'll be like, oh, but you've got to do it this way. And I'm like, no, you have to do it that way. And I respect and honor that that is important for you, but that is not
That's not your
how
path.
I will do it.
Right.
So, you need to really research that. No, I don't. I need to go there and live it and experience it. And that's fine that you need to research it and do everything, but that is not money. So it really helps you kind of go, that's okay. You're not my people.
Yes, exactly. I had a question for you that might be very helpful for a lot of women business owners.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit easier, but think a lot of women business owners get a little bit nervous being visible. They feel they have that imposter syndrome. Who am I to share and blah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Can you share a little helpful advice to them how they can come over that? And then I have something I want to add to it too that might take some of the sting out for, that initial going visible and confidence and so forth.
Yeah. First of all, you don't have to be visible. You don't have to be visible. There's a lot of people, I don't want to do videos. I don't want to get on social media. You don't have to. That is absolutely not a requirement. So let's just take that off the table first. Second, who does not have imposter syndrome? I still have imposter syndrome. I still look in the mirror and think I'm a 12-year-old girl going, God, I just hope my dad's proud of me. Like, I mean, it happens. Right? We're human.
Yeah.
But how do we I talk about imposter syndrome a lot, and there's two things that I think really contribute to imposter syndrome. One is an article that I wrote on LinkedIn, which you can Google, I'm sure, but I wrote an article on LinkedIn called Screw Self-Reflection. And it's not that self-reflection isn't valuable, but I think when you don't know your talents, when you don't have this vocabulary and understanding of who you are, we don't understand why we show up the way we do sometimes. We might blame it on our parents, we might blame it on an environment, we might blame it, but we don't recognize what is happening in us that makes that person or that situation a challenge, or makes that person or that situation more joyful for us. And our talents will give us clues into that. So I think when we have our talents, it helps the self-reflection process be less painful, easier, because sometimes people can ask you why 16 times and you still may not understand why something is happening. Right. So if we don't know that about ourselves, it's much easier to think, I'm not good enough. I don't know who I am. I don't know what I want. Talents will give you a clue to that. Two, most of us, without having this language, without knowing this, fall into one of two paths. And so when I very, very first started Strengths, my goal was to eradicate the midlife crisis, was to eradicate that moment when you're just like, crap, I've been doing everything everybody else wants and I'm done and I'm figured out for myself, right? Well, how do we get to that point? You followed one of two paths of shoulds. And this is the different kind of should. You go to college and you're like, I don't know what I want to study. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know who I am. And a teacher, a parent, your grandparent, someone you look up to has said, this is what I think you're really good at. This is what I think you should do. This is what make the family proud. We've all been doctors. You should be a doctor too, whatever it is. And you go, all right, I can do that. I don't know what I want, so I might as well do what they want me to do because I respect them and love them. And obviously they want the best for me. So that nobody's doing it out of malice. They're not trying to take you down the wrong path. You don't really know. So you let someone else declare it for you. But the whole time you're thinking, still not really happy. It still doesn't really want, but I don't know what I want. So, right. So you get to that breaking point. Or you do know what you want, but you follow the footsteps of someone you admire, someone you look up to, a famous person, a guru, a teacher, whoever it is. And you're going to be like, I'm going to be just like them.
Right.
And so you try to do everything they did, but you find it challenging to do it the way they did it. And so again, you do this path. And so in both cases, you don't really know who you are, what you really need, what will motivate you, how you want to contribute, what you value, from a difference of values. And I think both of those contribute to imposter syndrome. And to me, sincerely, I want to teach strengths as a second language. I want everybody to have this in vocabulary so that they have this really solid base of understanding why they do what they do, but also how they do something. Because the other side of the coin is someone goes, oh my God, Tamara, how did you do that? That was like, how do you do that? How do you just connect so many people? Like, you're so good at that. And I'm not saying you do this, so please don't take it, but like, you're going, well, I mean, if you really put your mind to it, anybody can do it. It's really easy. I mean, what? I mean, I make a couple of phone calls, I reach out to people, I ask a question, like it's not it's not rocket science. Well, what's happening is you're devaluing something that is truly a beautiful gift and internally kind of judging other people that aren't as good as you at doing whatever it is. Because you're thinking, I mean, if you just put a little effort into it, anybody could do this. But it's not true. Right? So when you have your talents, you go, oh, wait, no, you can't do that. That is like totally not something that is in your wheelhouse. And how do I show up to support you in that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because this just brought me a memory. So my husband is able to multitask. I don't know how he does it. He can do 5 to 7 things at once and do them all very well. And he's like, he can't, he can settle down, but when he's in the mode, he is just.
Yep.
Me, on the other hand, it used to be like multitasking, like you're like a better person if you know how to
Well, you're
multitask.
a
Like that
woman.
was
Aren't you supposed
right.
to be able to multitask?
Yeah, exactly. So there was this whole thing, and I just started to realize, I mean, I guess it's not that I can't. I realized I don't want to, and I don't enjoy
Yeah.
that. I want to be focused and enjoy that process of whatever I'm doing and be fully there. And then when
Yeah.
I'm complete, I can do something else. Now, can I multitask? Yes, but I don't want to. But it took me a while because, to be quite honest with you, in a jokey way, my husband would be like, like he thought it was like he was somehow a little bit more evolved because he could
Well, sure.
multitask. And then I started to really question that. I mean, it's a small little funny thing between us. It's nothing serious. But then I really did start to think about it. And now I turned it around and I said, I am so happy. I am not the type to multitask. I love to focus. I like owned me. I owned myself. And I stopped allowing it to be like, oh, well, multitasking is a positive. Yeah, it can be a positive for some people, but it's not a positive for me. And I
Right.
am the one living
Right.
my experience, my life. So I want to do what feels joyful to me. And multitasking does not feel joyful to me. What feels joyful to me, it's almost like slow food, or, it's like slow. I want to be slow and present and enjoying the
Yeah.
process, whatever I'm doing, and giving it my full attention. Because, for example, if it's my clients, they deserve my everything. It's not about
Right.
me, it's about them. And I don't want to be like, oh, hold on 1 second. Well, I'll get right to you. And then I'm like all over the place. That's also, to me, I want to respect the other person fully
Sure.
too, especially when it comes to
Sure.
another human. But I love what you're saying about this because it takes a little while to feel like you're supposed to keep up the way it's supposed to be, or that's the better way to be. And then it's really super cool when you're able to say, no, that doesn't work for me. I get it. I like that. I can see it as a benefit possibly, but I also like my way and it's a benefit and it works still. So there's more than one ways to
Right.
do things, right?
Right.
You
And as
just
long
have
as
to
we're
find it.
not negatively impacting ourselves or others,
Exactly.
then we
Exactly.
don't have any need to modify that. I always joke that
Exactly.
it's like, hot water in the house. If you live alone and you want to take a 30-minute hot shower, you don't have to worry about whether anybody else is getting in after you, if there's enough hot
Yes.
water, if, whatever, you can do it. But
Exactly.
if there's 6 people
Exactly.
sharing one shower
You have to
and
be
you all want a
considerate of it.
30-minute
Yeah.
hot shower, it's not going to work unless you like come up with a
Exactly.
time schedule or you do something like you got to make adjustments. So I'm not saying like my way is the best way and I don't have to do anything your way. No, it's not that. It's just as
Yeah.
long as I am not negatively impacting myself or others around me, there is no need to modify.
Exactly. Okay, so I have another success question for you before we kind of wrap this up. So
Yeah.
I would like to know, what do you have, like a daily morning routine or any specific habits that you do every single day that kind of sets you up for your own success? Or do you just kind of go with the inspirational flow of however the day might come to you?
You just said one of my favorite 4-letter words. It's more than 4 letters. I hate the word
Flow?
habits. I hate the word habits. I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah.
But it's semantics.
Close.
It's semantics,
Yeah.
right? We talk about this. And I think that's really important. And again, something that talents will tell us about someone's, if I need a lot of flexibility. So if you say habit, I hear rigid
Yeah.
and structure and like
Constriction.
it, like, ugh.
Yes.
But if you say
Yes.
ritual, I'm
Yeah.
like, ooh, tell me
Okay.
more, right? Like
Tell you what,
I,
that I have ritual here. I said habits or ritual. Guess
I
what's
know.
getting crossed out? Because I hate the word habits too. So see,
No,
I
but
just
somebody
evolved
else might
again.
like habits. Somebody else might like habits. Like it's habits or rituals. So I love that you ask both, but like habits and that, like I just like I automatically just tune out.
But you're right. My
Or
natural
if
word
someone
is
says more
ritual.
disciplined, yeah. But if you say more disciplined or anything like that, or rules, I'm like,
Yeah. It's
rules,
like,
no.
yeah. Well, we're
Guidelines,
freedom
sure.
lovers,
I
right?
want
That's why.
suggestions. I want this. So getting back to the question, sorry, getting back to the question, habits. I mean, I've got things I have to do because I have to get my son to school, but no, I have a really hard time. In fact, I tell people, I was talking to someone about time management and I said, my time management looks like chaos to anyone who loves order, but I need it
Yeah.
because I work when I'm in flow, in the zone.
Yes. Yes.
And if I can't get there, I can't
Yes.
get there. So no, it's funny because I have this ideal day in my head and like what I believe my ideal day would look like. I don't think I've done my ideal day since I was like 19 years old.
Mhm.
Um, I'm 51 now, so you can imagine it's been a while since I've done my ideal day. But like my idea of what an ideal day looks like is based on what it felt like at 19 to be my ideal day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, do I feel badly that I can't recreate that? And for whatever reason, I can't get back to it? Yeah, sometimes I do. But gosh, why? Like, why do I
Yeah.
hold myself accountable to what that 19-year-old's responsibilities were versus what my responsibilities are now as a mom?
But it's
And
interesting also that you say this because I ran a little test on my own self. I was just curious because, every once in a while I get very, organized with my calendar where it's the morning routine. Okay, wake up, have the coffee, listen to the positive podcast, meditate, journal, do some yoga stretches, go for a walk in nature, like all of the things that I would love to say is this is my perfect morning routine. And
yeah,
then I'm on with my tasks. And then I was just, with my business and so forth and showing up.
yeah,
And then I was really curious because I also love freedom. And I'm also, when I am inspired, I can sit down and focus for 14 hours straight. And sometimes my
yeah,
husband's like, get up and move. You are at the computer the whole day, but I'm inspired, right? So I was just curious, and I did a little experiment with myself. What if I had outside of, showing up for clients where I had an absolute
right.
appointment, if I left everything else, I have a huge master to-do list, of course. We always do, right? There's always something to add to it. And I said, okay, what if I just didn't have an ounce of appointments set for my own self for all these
Hmm.
things and I just see what happens? I was a little nervous, like, well, would that mean I'll just be lazy and a couch potato and just watch TV all day or something and not be productive? And that was exactly opposite. I didn't need the prompt to show up for myself. I didn't need the like little, okay, you got to check this off. This is what you have to do to get to your successful day. Both worked for me. And so I use them,
Yeah,
sporadically, however it shows up. But even just allowing myself nothing but let inspiration move me, where literally it would be like, okay, what do I feel like doing today? And I would wait for the answer. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to work on figuring out how to connect that automation to my business, whatever it
yeah,
might be.
yeah.
But if I told myself I had to do that on Wednesday and then Wednesday rolls around and I'm just so not into setting up automation and doing tech, oh, but if I just ask myself and I could feel the energy, today's a good day. I'm in the mood to do some tech stuff. I can do this. And then I go for it. Well, it turns out they both work, which means again, it's about women. What I guess I'm trying to say to you is give yourself permission to be yourself, right?
Right. And that to me sounds like, God, now I want you to do the test because I want to know if you have achiever. Because that to me sounds so much like achiever because like, I mean, just being lazy or a couch potato. I'm like, I have no problem being a couch potato.
Yeah.
You tell me I don't have to do anything today, my brain goes, oh God, thank you. I can actually relax and veg. And I mean, and I get to a point where my brain is so on all the time that like I can't even watch a TV show or Netflix because I don't have the bandwidth
Yeah.
to do it. So like I'll watch stand-up comedy because
Yes.
that's like it's fast, it changes,
Yes.
it's funny.
Mhm.
It's like the only thing I can do to relax my
Yeah.
brain or play Candy Crush. I will unabashedly admit that I play Candy Crush because it fits my talents, but it's also like I don't want to get out the crochet. I don't want to get quite out, but trying to do something that occupies my brain in a way that I have to focus on that and nothing else is the way I have to relax.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I have no problem sitting down and having a veg day. And like Sundays are my tech fast day. So like I try really hard not to get on social media, shut the computer down. I mean, we might watch Netflix or something, but like I try not to be online and working and all that. But every now and again, I'm like, I made Friday my tech fast.
Yeah.
And so if Friday was my tech fast, then I probably am going to do something on Sunday and I'm feeling really inspired. So I'm going to work on Sunday because I
Well,
got the
I
motivation to
hear
do it.
you. like here's
So
another thing that I did. I created a schedule that really works for me. I am a 3 day a work weeker. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. That's it. It's not that I'm not saying I don't maybe touch it into my business, but I don't have to if I don't want to. Most of that is because I love traveling. I figured if I ever want to take a long weekend, I'm covered. You know, I can
I'm the
do the
same
whole thing.
way. Mondays and Fridays are reserved for other things, but Tuesday, Wednesday,
Yeah.
Thursday are the client days, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that really works. And what I have also found, and I'm sharing this with you beautiful women out there that think that you need to work 12-hour days, I can tell you this is I work a 3 hour day, a lot less hours. I get so much more done. I'm truly happy. My business is successful. I am making a difference, serving others, being inspired by others. This is the thing. And this comes in time. You say, what is the most joyful way I can do this? How do I show up? This is that's not how I want to do it. How do I want to do it? And this is what I love about your work, Joe, because this is exactly what you can help women with. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how
Well,
you
and to
can
me,
help.
when I said the achiever, that sounds to me like an unhealthy achiever versus a healthy achiever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So this talent has the shadow side and the strength side. And that to me sounds like what you adjusted from was potentially the unhealthy achiever that's like
Absolutely.
checklist, got to get it done, got to be moving, got to do
Absolutely.
this, to the
Absolutely.
achiever that says, I'm going to get it done, but how I get it done doesn't have to be this way.
Exactly. And it was the same thing where I realized, hey, I'm not a multitasker. So I'm
Right.
going to do it my way and it works better for me. Okay, I have one last question to you before we sign off. So,
Yeah.
what is your like one sentence? What is your number one professional tip for women to grow their businesses?
I'm going to use my favorite quote. The best way to predict your future is to create it.
Ooh, ooh, way to
Abraham Lincoln.
go. Yes, love it. Say it again one more
Why?
time.
The best way to predict your future is to create it. I fully believe in mapping your future out. Um, it's not enough to know where you want to go. You've got to know where you are, and
Mm,
and most people know one or the other, but we rarely know both. And so if you only know the destination, you might take the back road that's been closed and has like washed out by a landslide, and then you have to backtrack and you have to go down another one. If you don't have that, if you have a map and you don't know where you are on the map does you no good.
That's right. That's right.
So you need both. So yeah, best way to
Love
predict
this.
your future is to create it.
Okay, one more time. What's your website before we sign off?
discoverjoeself.com.
Yes. Okay. Did I tell you, beautiful, wealthy women, that this was going to be an amazing interview? We have learned so much just being in this moment of an hour. Can you imagine how Jo can help you when she really gets to know you and gets to help you discover the real beautiful you so that you can? I always think of it like, and I think we even talked about this, like think of Michelangelo and the marble. It was just marble before it became the David,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like this is what Jo can help you with, to chisel down and find your most perfect self, what that is to you. She'll help you recognize your strengths, how to recognize your shadow sides and work with them as well. So please reach out to her. And like I always like to say to you, enjoy this beautiful journey. You are already a success because you started your business, and that's such a big deal. It
Yeah.
shows how much you have passion and confidence and a big why to help and serve, and just keep going forward. Just find what you need along the way, refine it, evolve it, get to know yourself, enjoy the beautiful journey. It's not about the destination. That's going to happen anyway. You will get there, but be in the moment and make the most out of it. And just know that if it's the desire is in your heart, it is meant for you. It will show up for you. So that's all I got. So signing off and see you next time. Bye for now.